man. This is it. We're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it. So check this out. This is a long time coming, man. You guys. All right, my brothers, here we go. So check this out. This is what we got going on. This is the Sports is My Love Language podcast, where we go off the beaten path. We don't follow the day-to-day, what's hot in the news, the LeBron, the Brady talk. We will get there. But for the most part, what we're trying to do is we're trying to talk about topics that are interesting to the everyday fan, but aren't being blasted on these networks. So I want everybody to contribute, man. Comment, follow, share. Let us know what you're thinking. If you agree, you agree. If you don't, hey, let us know about it. Man, we got a good cast of characters. The reason I started this, and I started with the people that I started with, is because I respect them. I respect their opinion. Whenever I've been talking sports, they've chimed in. They've been educated on the sport. They've been researched. They know what they're doing, and they have passion. So I'm super excited to introduce our cast. We got my man UCD, we got Javitto, we got Petey, Pablo, we got AK, and we got my man Dre. And I promise you, we are bringing the heat. We're bringing the energy. And I want to welcome everybody. You're going to catch us every Thursday night, 7 p.m., leading into the Thursday night game and after that. But leading into the Thursday night game. Towards the end, stay tuned. We're going to give our prediction on tonight's Washington versus Giants game. I know AK is probably like, I don't care, but whatever. But we're gonna give you that prediction at the end. We're gonna with some scores. But right now, we're gonna lead into our first topic. I thought it was fascinating. Like I said, when I put it out there to my guys, they all came back 100% locked in, and I think this is the perfect way to start. So we're gonna start with my guy, Javitto. Javitto, let us know. You got a great topic to come up with.
Yeah, man. So basically, what we're going to talk about here is basically, the roots of where you became a fan of whatever team it is, right? So, it happened to me. I'm just basically watching a little TV, and all of a sudden I see, holy cow, I became a Yankee fan all of a sudden. It was 1983. My favorite player at the time was Omar Moreno. Here's how it all started. Just little things that started to kick in. All of a sudden, I started watching American football. What did I see? A little running back named Joe Morris. I'm just there like, I want to be that guy. I'm just there like, I just loved his little shiftiness, the way he would run. And then basically when it came to basketball, all of a sudden, I just heard about this guy named Patrick Ewing. And I'm just there like, I like it, and I like the number 33. So I'm just there like, that's what I became. I became number 33 because of Patrick Ewing. And then when it came to soccer, I started watching soccer back in 1988. But what really gravitated me to watching soccer was basically World Cup soccer. And when Freddie from Colombia tied up against Germany, I didn't know I had it in me to just go crazy with that. And that's when I decided that I'm also a soccer fan now, right? So all these things that just basically that I just didn't know I had inside me just started coming out because of these players. And then I just became hooked. And that's why, I'm a fan of these teams.
Joe, that's what I'm talking about. You see, when you go back in time, you could actually see. And now we know where your loyalty lies. Petey, Pablo, what you got for us?
What's up, guys?
What's
glad
up,
to join
Petey?
the show. Glad to join the show. All right, so the roots of my fandom. Let's start with the topic for tonight, football. We got Thursday Night Football, Giants and Redskins. What made me a Giants fan? Very similar to Javitto. I was just sitting there watching the game one time. Saw, I loved football. I wanted to be a running back, and it was the same thing. It probably was Joe Morris. I probably don't even remember what it was. I just remember just watching the game and saying, I love this game. I'm going to like this team. Go Big Blue.
More now.
Sam, we got the shirts on tonight. You, me, and Usman. So that's how it went out for me for football. Baseball, it was kind of a similar thing, but it was more because it was I'm a Mets fan, not a Yankees fan. I know, yeah, we've been down. I get it. But it was right around the 86 World Series, around there, It was everybody. The city was on fire, the Northeast area, right, the tri-state area where we're at. On fire, 86 Mets, because they were good for those 3 years, 84, 85, 86, right?
They were great for those years.
So, boom, they won 107 games that year, and that's kind of where I became a Mets fan on there. So now we go to basketball. No, I am not a Knicks fan. I am actually a Bulls fan. And there's one reason only: Michael Jordan. That was it.
Yeah, that's a good reason.
That's where it was. You know, I saw him play. I'm a fan of the Tar Heels in men's basketball because of him too, to this day. You know, so and I've stayed a Bulls fan and I've stayed a Tar Heels fan all these years, especially with these Bulls that they've sucked forever. Seems like, you know, but it is what it is. You know, so and I'm not gonna lie, I think a part of that too, a little bit became for me. I don't despise the Knicks, you know, per se. Sometimes Knicks fans get a little on my nerves, but that's because I grew up there, right? So they were all over the place, right? You know, I'm a Bulls guy, and I got all these Knicks guys around me, you know, all the trash talking. But, you know, it was really more so, you know, Michael Jordan on that. And then hockey, just simple, the Devils, you know, New Jersey Devils growing up in North Bergen, you know, right there. You know, just kind of grew up on that team. And then I little by little started to hate the Rangers, started to hate the Islanders, you know, so, as it's supposed to be. But, and that's where we're at.
Cool. My man, AK, talk to us.
Appreciate y'all having me. This is a fantastic forum and venue. I was born in Hartford, Connecticut, so my first team was the Hartford Whalers ice hockey.
Wow,
nice.
Ice hockey in India, where my parents are from. Field hockey is a male sport. After cricket, the biggest one. So they had me playing from like 3 years old. As soon as I could pretty much walk, right after I played some ice hockey. Then I moved to New Jersey, to Camden County, South Jersey, right next to Philadelphia. And the Whalers actually ended up moving to Carolina, and then they won the chip, I think, the year later. And I'm all about the home team, guys. I support my city. Philly's my city, so I'm a diehard Eagles, Flyers, Sixers. Doesn't matter. I love sports. I mean, that is my love language. It's a perfect podcast name. That's what I'm about. And I just supported the home teams. I gotta put a plug. The best defense I've ever seen in my life was one of the first years I started watching football, which was the 1990 Eagles defense with Reggie White, Clyde Simmons, Seth Joyner, Jerome Brown, rest in peace, Andre Waters,
Monsters,
Eric Allen, Ben Smith. You know, the whole entire team. That defense was crazy. The offense couldn't do a thing, and that's Buddy Ryan. But the team, you know, that defense until today. I mean, there's other defense you can put up, but that really gravitated me. I started playing football and then basketball after that for my school teams, XYZ. And then I found my true passion in boxing when I was a sophomore in high school. You know, did a lot of work in that sport, and I just love sports, and I just love talking sports with guys like y'all.
Yeah, man.
And so for me, it's all about the home team. I have some good friends, like family down here, who are Cowboys fans, and I say I love you guys, but it's a character flaw. You know, I'm all about supporting my city and my town, man.
Those words will never come out of my mouth.
I love sports, and I can tell we're gonna have a fantastic time chatting about that.
Dre, my man.
What's up, man? How you doing, guys?
What's going on,
What's up, brother?
Good.
All right. For me, it's a little bit different, man, because I come from Trinidad, and we didn't really have access to these sports. I came here at the age of 14 in 1995, and I didn't have anybody to teach me football because I was only around a bunch of Trinis who also didn't understand what the hell was going on. So it took me until I got to college in 2000 until, by luck for me, my roommate freshman year was the quarterback of the football team.
Oh, yeah.
So I started digging into football, man, and started really liking it from like the college level all the way up to the pros. And because all of my friends were Giants fans, I became a Giant fan. I'm stuck in there. I'm loyal. But at the beginning, it was because of the influence of those around me.
I like it.
For baseball, it was kind of the same thing. Even though my mom was already a Yankee fan, but I wasn't really into baseball on my own. I never really watched it in high school. When I started getting to college, 2000, that Subway Series, man, that changed everything for me. So I'm a Yankee fan. Soccer, I've been a fan since diapers. My teams are Brazil because of the style that they play. It's funny that everybody in Trinidad is a Brazil fan. We also have a team, but we'll get into that later on. And as far as basketball, it took me a while with this one because I ended up getting into individual players. and liking a lot of different teams because of the players on those teams. I like the Sacramento Kings because I like Chris Webber. I like Peja Stojakovic. I like Bobby Jackson's defense. I like the Knicks because my mom liked the Knicks, and I like John Starks and the way he never backed down from anybody, and that was kind of my attitude. I like the Orlando Magic because Penny Hardaway had Tyra Banks and Little Penny, and he was actually balling out there. So in the beginning, I just liked a bunch of different guys on a bunch of different teams. I knew Michael Jordan was the best player from Trinidad.
Yeah,
that was the only thing that I knew about American sports. But then when I came here, he was kind of already phasing out. At the end of the day, man, I started watching Stephen Curry at Davidson College. And I just ended up thinking that because he was the underdog, and it was kind of my story the same way, started following him. And he got drafted by the Warriors in 2009. They sucked. But I just kept watching, man, kept hoping that he would get a chance. He kept getting hurt, kept getting hurt, kept getting hurt. And eventually, in like 2012, I knew he was going to be the man. So, like, I'm a new Warrior fan.
That's rare. That's rare. I give you props because I remember. So I was there. I witnessed it. You're not some run-of-the-mill dude that just came on when they won championship. I can vouch for you on that.
I'm keeping it real.
Yeah.
It took me a while with the basketball, though. But yeah, that's it for me, man.
What do you call it? My plug is a gift and a curse, man. So real quick, let's give a couple of people some shout-outs that commented. Cynthia Wagner, what's up? How you been? How's everything? Yeah. Man. Jennifer Vega, Jersey girl living in Georgia. World Yanks and Giants all the way.
Yeah, Jen.
Definitely. So check this out.
I love it, Jen.
My play is crazy, man. So my sisters, I have two older sisters. They're like about 8 years older than me. And they were in love with the quarterbacks at their schools. All right. And they said to me, oh, man, you got to play football. You got to play football. I had no idea what football was. What up, Tony? What up, Efren? I had no idea what those things were. So I was like, whatever, man. So we moved forward. And my sisters make my mom take me to registration to go play football. In 1986, based on where I lived in New Jersey, North Bergen, the Pee-wees put me on the Jets. On the freaking Jets, bro. Yo, thanks to Mr. Prado, John Prado, Mr. Buzzer, and a couple other guys. And we won a championship the first year, and I was lock solid. The funny part of the story is I would have swore to God to you that I thought that we were related to the real Jets. That I was like, we're like, there's a real interaction. Like, we're connected to them. So I was a Jet from that day forward.
Right.
The Yankees is a little easier. The Yankees is simple because my father was a Yankee fan, and my last memories of him when I was younger were at Yankee games. One day a foul ball comes down the first the first baseline. My man jumps over, falls on the field. We get kicked out of Yankee Stadium. After that day, I was like, I love this. This is cool. Yankees are cool with me. The Knicks, I caught Knicks fever playing basketball at 82nd Street Park with all my guys over there in North Bergen, and everybody was kind of like, we all caught Knicks fever kind of at the same time, and I fell in love with that rough and tumble style with Xavier McDaniel, Charles Oakley, freaking Patrick Ewing. Those were my guys. And then New Jersey, North Bergen. Yeah, from North Bergen. Well, a couple of us are from North Bergen. Me, Pablo, and Javi, originally from North Bergen. So basically, that's my play. I fell in love with the Rangers for 1 year. I'm not a hockey guy. But Messier came and they started winning those. What do you call it? I'm definitely a front runner. Definitely a front runner when it comes to hockey. But that's about it. All right, Tony Rosillo chimes in. He says, Mike was one of the best defensive ends to play. Man, I appreciate the compliment. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the love. All right. So now, the way we structured this podcast is everybody took a topic that's off the beaten path. Like I said, it's not a headline, but we found it interesting enough. And we said, you know what? We all kind of met together. And when the person brought that topic up, we said, you know what? This is something that needs to be talked about. And what we're going to do is we're going to allow you to set the stage for us, and then we're all going to chime in our opinion. Luckily, we're from all different walks of life, so we're all going to kind of have something different to say. All right. So up next we have UCG, my man, and he wants to know. Well, you can lead us in. Yeah, you can lead us in, Lewis.
All right. Well, first I'll start off with my fandom. I'm kind of like Dre. I was 14 years old, moved here from Pakistan to New Jersey, a little town called.
Yeah, give us your fandom. Sorry about that.
It's all good. A little town called North Brunswick. I remember my uncle bought me this shirt. It was a sweatshirt with little turtlenecks that Giants on it.
Right.
Like once every week. Now those years, Cowboys, back-to-back champs. Every other team, the Packers were good. Everybody was good. Giants sucked. Strahan, Seahorn. We practically had no quarterback at the time, but that was my team. I'm a hometown guy. So started watching Giants games. I didn't go the Cowboys route. I didn't go the Steve Young, the 49ers route. Started watching Giants game, local games, enjoying them. We could never get a first down. But that was my team. I joined the football team my senior year of high school just to learn the game of football, and didn't play much, but, I was a wide receiver and free safety, played special teams. So football, Giants, diehard fan, always will be, to the point where, we were good for like a short stint, horrible now, but I eat, people always make fun of me for being a Giants fan, but I always will, be loyal to that. Basketball, diehard Knicks fan. Like the Knicks even more than I like the Giants. The Patrick Ewing days, the John Starks days. I mean, I'm still mad about the finger roll. I can't believe it didn't go in. So,
heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking. So I hate the Bulls. Sorry, bro. Teams I just hate. I hate the Bulls, the Pacers, the Celtics.
Anybody broke our hearts in the 90s.
Man, I was gonna say, man, those 90s were rough.
I'm a LeBron fan. I support LeBron. And from a favorite player standpoint. Favorite player in football all time, Peyton Manning, die hard. That's my greatest of all time. I'll get into debates on that anytime. Baseball, I'm not a baseball guy. But when I moved to North Brunswick, baseball in Jersey, Central Jersey, Yankees, that's all anyone ever talked about. When I did watch some baseball, it was Yankees. But I'm a cricket guy. I watch cricket. So I'm a big-time cricket fan.
I hope you bring some of that to the table, man, because that's definitely off the beaten path.
Yeah, so I ordered a yearly subscription to Willow TV. I wake up 6 a.m., watch games, globally. So IPL, PSL, World Cricket. There's a World Cup coming up next month. So I'm into that. Soccer, Chelsea's my team. I moved to Canada like 15 years ago. I just recently moved back. I bought a FIFA game. I started playing FIFA, and I would always play Chelsea. I like the orange cleats that Didier Drogba had. And literally, I would just play FIFA using that team. I'm a Chelsea fan to the point where a couple of years ago, I flew to London just to see Chelsea play. I went there on a long weekend, saw Chelsea play, went to Germany, went to see Man U play, and then came back, So that's that. NCAA, I'm a big fan. So I went to Kean University. The three of us did in this group here. So we don't have a team that is ever going to be nationally televised. So Florida Gators football, I'm a huge fan from back in the day when Steve Spurrier was the coach. I'm a huge Steve Spurrier fan. Michigan University, both football, basketball. I like their programs. I like North Carolina basketball program. And those are some of the teams that I follow, from an NCAA standpoint.
OCG, what do you call it? We're kind of going over the time limit right now. Let's go to your first topic.
So my first topic was I wanted to talk about the NFL owners, the NFL management, and the treatment of star quarterbacks. So if you really think about it, Tom Brady was upset. I'm not a Tom Brady fan. If I give Tom Brady a compliment, that should be a special day noted, I will not be supporting Tom Brady a lot. However, he wasn't treated well in New England. They made him feel like he was less than who he was. They made him feel like he wasn't, responsible for so many rings. I do believe Bill Belichick is the biggest reason why, but at the end of the day, he does have those rings. Aaron Rodgers, the guy just had an MVP year last year. A year before, they had just drafted his replacement. He wants to be traded. They don't want to trade him. Deshaun Watson, another superstar, upcoming young quarterback. He wants to leave. His best player's favorite target was shipped out for nothing to Arizona. They got a new coach, no consultation, no input. So my point here is Tom Brady forever wanted receivers, took pay cuts, never got one. Watson wanted help, the right coach, him to be consulted, never got it. Aaron Rodgers wanted to just got a phone call. Hey, so-and-so receiver, who do you want? So I wanted to talk about the fact that the superstar quarterbacks are not treated in the NFL with the respect that they deserve. I want to know what some of you guys have to say about that.
Javitto, you're up.
So, not that I disagree with you, but if I had to put a little bit of disagreements in there, it would be the fact that, they are the face of the franchise, right? And I agree that they should probably have some type of, let's just say, conversation with management about building a team. But at the end of the day, it's not their job really to basically build a team, right? It's up to the general manager. There's these salary caps that they always got to work around. That Tom Brady decided to basically take probably a lot less year to year. I think it was one of those things that he did that knowing that his team would be better off, right? As opposed to, let's just say, getting paid $40 million a year and not being able to build a team around him because of that, right? So he knew, in a way, I have to take a little bit less money to have better players around me. Now, does that mean that management disregards what they basically would like? I would say yes at times, because again, you got to build a basically, what is it, a 52-man roster, and you kind of want to, make sure that it's pretty much basically balanced out, as opposed to just giving one guy most of the money. And now you're basically, hoping that these rookies come in and just basically play great, right? Because you're banking on rookie contracts for about 3 to 4 years. And hopefully you could get these other, let's just say, bigger players that are in their 5th and 6th year at a good cost, like a Tom Brady. So I agree with you as far as basically maybe there's a little bit of a form of a disrespect type of a deal when it comes to things like that. But at the same time, I got to also give management their due process of trying to build the team. And if it means that, hey, you know what? I'm not going to listen to Tom. I'm not going to listen to Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to listen to Watson. Well, that's what it is. And if you want to get traded, it's got to make sense for management. That's it. Like the management works for the team. It doesn't work for the quarterback. Even though the quarterback is the main guy, you got to also think, it's a franchise. It's not the quarterback.
Cool. Pablo, what you got?
So that's an interesting conversation, because I think the NFL will always push the shield, right? The logo over everything, unlike the NBA where it's player centric, right? Yeah. However, I think that there can be a perfect balance, because a lot of what Javitto said is true. They're not going to sit there and just do everything that the quarterback wants, even though there are some quarterbacks that are starting to flip that script a little bit, right, with a little bit of power, like Aaron Rodgers just did, and even Tom Brady to a degree, right? He knew he did something that he can get out of New England and go wherever he wanted, right? But at the same time, since Javitto said the quarterback is the face of the franchise, I think management can do better things to incorporate the quarterback so that they don't get disgruntled like maybe Aaron Rodgers did. So what's wrong with when you're doing the NFL draft and scouting players, sitting with the quarterback, because the quarterback and the coordinator should be building offense together, right? What do you think of this guy, this lineman, this running back, this receiver? Will he fit the system we're running? Those kinds of things, and that builds the partnership. And I think things like that will limit, these quarterbacks being frustrated. And, from that perspective, especially when these quarterbacks want to get paid money, right? Some of these quarterbacks want the big contract. Unlike, like Javitto said, Brady was taking a different path. He cares about winning more than he cared about making money, whatever those reasons, are, that's what they were. Okay, well, if you have a partnership with your quarterback and you want that big contract, all right, well, now come free agency and draft and all that. Understand, brother, you're taking a good chunk of the salary cap, so you better work with us to help find guys deeper in the draft or other no-name guys that may have been on another team that we've seen come to another team and all of a sudden, they're very successful. Like, you help us find these guys, that we need to find in the offseason, and that builds your partnership. And at the same time, the NFL can keep its quote-unquote shield being the dominant force over every individual player.
The shield over the individual player. Yeah, that's exactly what they're looking for. AK, what you got for us?
I mean, I agree. I think this is really interesting. I think you have to kind of break it down from a perspective. First of all, in almost every sport, the superstar player is signing his first contract extension with the team that drafted him, right? So they're signing the contract when they come out, and the first contract signing with the team that drafted him. Then they get to decide what they want to do coming that next contract, which is usually sometime between 5, 6, 7 years of being in the league. You do see things like Deshaun now, Watson, where they're asking for a trade. It's still a little far and few between initially, but I think that's something that you really got to take into consideration. But I think this is a matter of ego, right? Like, when you're talking about the word management matters. Like, if you're going to go to Aaron Rodgers, at least make him feel like he has some input, and you're still going to do what's best for your team. Right. They are not general managers, the players, but they know they want weapons. They just want to win generally, because that gets them more money, that gets them the next contract, that gets them kind of that unique aspect of the quarterback position where you're taking the blame and you're taking the glory when it comes. So I think a big part of this is making people feel like they're valued. You listen to Rodgers, I think he's the most eye-opening because I think he spoke the most about it. Genuinely, he basically said, an organization is people. And in my industry outside of sports, we say there are no businesses. There's just people. You know what I mean? All things being equal, people will do business with who they like. All things not being equal, people will still do business with who they like. And so I think that it's a big part of this is making them feel valued, talking to them, and you're still going to make your own decision, but they want to feel like they had an input. And I think that there's an old guard versus a new guard, right? Like, you have now younger general managers, younger coaches who may understand that a little bit more, or even some older coaches who get that. But the old way of, kind of, I'm just going to tell you what to do and that's it, for the quarterback position only is gone. I mean, every other position in football you're literally almost expendable. I mean, if you're a good pass rusher or if you're a top cornerback, okay. But any other position, you're basically expendable. It's only the quarterback position that really, kind of you have some say. So I think this is a big part of it is just making people feel it's management. It's literally the word managing people, managing human beings and managing egos and making people feel like, all right, I got a shot in the overall winning and losing because, again, I'm the quarterback. This is going to come back to me. So, I don't think it's rocket science. I think it's a matter of people saying, let's work collaboratively and let's make sure that people feel like that their perception is reality a lot of times. Let's make people feel like their voice is being valued when we're going through these scenarios. I think things like a Deshaun Watson, I think, is a super outlier, right? Yeah. It's a unique situation, but I think Aaron Rodgers was like, and he said it. Now, how genuine it is, I think it could be somewhat genuine. Hey, they could have called me and said, hey, we're drafting a quarterback. That's just courtesy. So you want people to feel like they're valued. This is their life. This is their money. This is how they feed their family. This is their reputation. This is their ego. And so I think that's a big part of it. I'll yield my time to Mr. Dre.
Dre, you're up.
Right. So for me, I think that the exposure in that where the grass was cut and the snakes came out is social media. When players were able to voice displeasures and stuff like that about management and upper echelon staff in the organization. Because who's to say Dan Marino had a say in drafting and stuff like that. Steve Young and those guys. Who knows? We don't even know what those guys have to say about it because they had no outlet to give it to us. The thing that changed everything is social media gave the players now an outlet to voice displeasures. Maybe they're always displeasures, maybe guys always had a problem with the way management dealt with stuff, and felt like they were excluded, or they should have been, at least notified, or, given the proper, whatever you would want to call it, for making decisions in the organization, because the quarterback is one of the most important positions in an organization, in a football team, the NFL. So it can't be one way on one side where this guy's the most important guy here, and then one way on the other side where, well, we're going to just do this and we're not going to include him. We're not going to let him know what's going on. And then the public is going to know about it. I feel like that's where the players start having to defend themselves, because if the public don't know the players are getting jaded, then it's quiet. But now the fans are asking these players, hey, man, how come they didn't ask you about this trade? How come they didn't ask you if you wanted a O-lineman instead of this other guy that they drafted? And now these players feel like they have to defend themselves, and the social media outlets are there. So that's where I feel like most of this is being exposed now. But to me, it has always been there.
It's so funny. Everybody laid out a point that I agree with. Okay, but the issue that I have with the ownership is this: it's the promises that they make behind closed doors and that they don't keep. I don't think there's any accountability on the side of the owners. You signed a contract. We don't owe you that explanation. And I'll give you a couple of reasons why they don't owe the quarterback the explanation. But when you make promises, that's where I kind of back up. And I'm like, he's not a quarterback, but it brings me back to the Jets with Jamal Adams. They told him. They gave him some promises. Russell Wilson, they made him some promises. Aaron Rodgers, they talked to him behind closed doors and made some commitments to him. Right. That bothers me on the side of ownership, right? But I'm going to say this about the players. Unfortunately, there's a couple of things that we haven't kept. We need to keep into account. Number one, the organization is looking at the big picture, right? And sometimes there's a lack of self-awareness amongst these quarterbacks. Okay, and we're not with them day to day, and we don't see what a lot of these ownerships see, and we don't study them the way these their trainers see them, the way the injury reports, what they keep up with. We don't see that behind closed doors, right? So I'm not saying this is what's happening, but I'm just saying there's things that we don't see. So it could be that they saw something, they legitimately saw something, and they feel like we need to move on. Now imagine having to sit in a room, in a draft room with a quarterback, because you said, you're a star, you deserve commitment, and you've been looking and talking to your general manager, talking about, this guy's got bad wheels, man. He's only got about a year and a half. You know who comes to mind? And he didn't get the promise or anything, but you know who comes to mind? A guy like Cam Newton in North Carolina. Cam Newton in North Carolina, right, for a lot of the population was this big, badass, still quarterback, right? But the truth is, he had lost it. He wasn't the Cam Newton that won an MVP. He wasn't that guy. And imagine an ownership group, right, that because he's popular, because he has this voice, and he starts to talk out loud, and they commit to him like, all right, we're gonna kind of play around you. We're gonna we'll help. Okay, what do you need? But he has a lack of self-awareness, not realizing you're not the Cam that you were 3-4 years ago. You know what I mean? So that's the only angle that I could see where ownership has to have that power, because there comes a time, and you've seen it with like a Brett Favre. He played a year or two too long. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody's Tom Brady. Drew Brees had a noodle arm. No matter how much his IQ was, he had a noodle arm last year. He couldn't go through the deep ball. You know what I mean? But he had self-awareness, so it was good. You were able to move on from him. But what if a Drew Brees comes back and says, I got another year in me, but all I need is a left tackle? And ownership says, the pressure's on, man. Yeah, you're a good, all right, let's. The truth is, they have to say to themselves, the truth is, we got to draft your replacement. We got to look at whatever. So that's the only thing I'm going to say. I don't agree with ownership because I don't agree with their tactics. They make promises they can't keep. But I will say they have more information as far as the day-to-day and as far as the direction. Now, it's not to say, like Bill Belichick used to do it all the time. He used to drop a player 2 to 3 years, right, before their prime was over, because he always believed that dropping a player too soon is better than dropping them too late. So, in that case, I guess we don't know. Now, hey Nate, go Cowboys! I don't think you have a lot of fans on this podcast, buddy. We're gonna move on, and the next topic is. Oh, I think this is a pretty cool one right here, man. Life. This is Dre. Life after Serena. Life after. No, yeah. Life after Serena. Dre, what are your thoughts?
This topic for me, I love tennis. I've been following women's and men's since I can remember. And what I have noticed is since 2017, when Serena last won her last Grand Slam, and the higher ups in tennis have noticed that she's starting to decline, because I don't know if you guys know that she only needs one more to hold a record on her own, but has had 20 chances and just can't seem to get it done. And I don't think that they're ready to give up on that yet, because they haven't found the next stamp, the next face of tennis. Even though there is Naomi Osaka, she's won 4 Grand Slams since 2017, including beating Serena in the US Open. But I feel like, no knock against her, she's a great player, and I think that she's great mentally on the court. But this whole thing that everybody's talking about with the mental health for athletes and just people in general, I feel like that has something to do with the reason why there won't be another Serena for a while. To me, it's because I don't know if you guys are familiar with Venus and Serena's early story, but they had it rough, man. They showed up to play. People didn't think that their kid should be playing against them. Took the kid off the court. They were left standing there, had to play against the sister because no one could play against them. Like, their dad was really hard on them. And I feel like that developed her mentally to be able to dominate in the way that we saw over that period of time. And I feel like the next person to do that is not currently in tennis. What do you guys think?
Look, I absolutely love this topic, because after you brought it up, I did a deep dive, right? And you nailed it towards the end of your initial statement when you said, basically, in a nutshell, they're not built for this, man. They don't know. There is a level of intensity, a level of dedication, a level of thick skin that you have to be at Serena's level. And I see it. It's funny because we're talking about tennis, but I see it across the board in a lot of different sports. But it's funny that you name tennis, because in tennis, it's glaring that they're trying their hardest, right, to find another woman of color that kind of fits that narrative, right, to be the next thing. The problem is they're not doing their due diligence and seeing that, some of these girls are not emotionally built. They're not taking into account the emotional component that it takes to be a Serena Williams. You know what I'm saying? You have to come from the mud, like, to be a Serena Williams. And her father, although they weren't poor. They were like a working class family. But the way he drove them, until you have to, and you made a good point, because you talk about today's society. Today's society, you're not building people the way we built them back in the day, at least in the last generation, where you could disregard their feelings in lieu of their success. Right. Nowadays, it's like, after success, worry about my feelings. Exactly. And so I 100% agree. I think tennis is trying to force it. Will it come? It might not come in the form that they're looking for. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could actually come in the form of a woman from, like, Eastern Europe that has that rough. You know what I mean? But they're concentrating so much on the fact that it has to be a woman of color to fit the tennis narrative, because they saw the money that came into the sport when this whole demographic started playing. So that's where I fall on it. UCG, what do you got?
I mean, the way I look at it first is, it's easy for anyone to say, hey, let's just find the next Serena. Let's just find the next Jordan. Let's just find. They're just dime a dozen. Just go into one of the hoods. She's there. You know, it doesn't work that way. So it may take the longest time to find the next superstar. And albeit must be also color, a person of color. So I mean, you're asking for too much. So that's not going to happen. Talking about Osaka, just so you know, she lost. She lost to the person that lost the final this year in the U.S. Open, and the person she lost to, she won the first set. Second set went to the tiebreaker, and then in the tiebreaker she lost the tiebreaker and just lost the next set. So she could have easily been in a final, possibly won the final. So I don't know. I believe that she's mentally, like what Michael was saying earlier, just not the short. Something's up. Not everyone is thick skin like some of the other people. So a lot of talent, not there mentally. Hopefully she gets there. She's still, the main person that you can target that can be up there. To be there.
Her skill is amazing.
Yep. And, tennis will always look for the next star, just like any sport will look for the next star. And, something about tennis, just to be off topic a little bit, it was Venus Williams that put Serena on a mat. She was the first one. It was her. I'm a Venus fan more than a Serena fan. Serena just was a better version, the advanced version, like Terminator 4, like just. So that's my take on this topic. So I feel that Osaka still is your answer, Dre. But I mean, you may never find one, and it may take a very long time to find, regardless of color.
Yeah, Javitto, what you got?
So basically, I'll just add to Usman's about Venus, right? Without Venus, I don't know if we get Serena, right? Like there was that battle between them on a day-to-day, minute to minute. So that constant, I want to be better than my older sister thing was in her head. So like Dre said, she was basically being built for this.
Exactly.
All right. So let's just go to Osaka. She doesn't have that sibling rivalry, right? She's growing up in the age of social media, which again, we'll go to the social media where they're looking for likes. You know what I'm saying? If they don't get likes, all of a sudden, there's that, oh my, I don't know. Am I doing something wrong now? There's pressure, right? Well, why am I not getting as many likes as I was before? I know I'm taking this a little bit differently, but that's where we are today, right? We're looking at this a little bit differently from where there wasn't any social media, because let's be real. Venus and Serena wasn't really growing up during that social media frenzy, right?
No, they weren't.
We had that constant, I'm going to be better than you, and you got to show me. And eventually, obviously, Serena took over. Are we ever going to get that? I don't know, because I don't know if, let's just say, the Fernandez girl that took out Osaka the other day,
Pretty good, too.
I don't know what her name is from that won the actual U.S. Open. She's 18 years old. Is she good? Yeah. Now the pressure's going to add up now. Now she's expecting to win. You know what I'm saying? Wow. When Serena was going through it, she wasn't expected to win.
We got a comment in the comment section. Natir Cook, is the want for likes weakening sports in general? I think, Javi, you just touched on it. Javito, you just touched on it.
I'm going to say yes, because you know what? There's this other thing that's basically taken over besides that basically competition for the sport itself. Now it's a competition of, am I being liked as a person as well? Right. While Serena didn't care. She was like, I'm trying to beat my sister first. After I beat my sister, nobody else is going to beat me, and I'm going to keep it that way.
Right.
And that's what happened. Now, obviously, it's been years since she had, but again, we're talking about a girl in late her 30s. I don't even know. Well, what is she, right?
After a baby. She had a baby.
After a baby. Come on. These tennis players that are basically in their 30s, I remember back in the days that once you hit 30, you weren't winning anything after that.
Not winning anymore.
All right. So now this new age, of like Serena and what's his name, the other guy,
Jokic.
Federer was another one that just keeps on. But I don't know if we have that anymore because of the social media age. And I'll just leave it with that. And Petey Pop, hit me up, brother.
What you got, Pablo?
Well, I really do echo a lot of what you guys said, especially when when you started touching on that. It wasn't just a dominant Serena that we got a dominant Venus Williams. So instead of just thinking about the next one dominant person, we got two of them, right?
Yeah.
But then when you look at when they first came out, for a long time, women's tennis was more dominant than the men's in terms of recognizable names, right? If you think about when they first started out, who was the number one female tennis player? Martina Hingis, right? Then you had Anna Kournikova. You had all these other
Navratilova.
Anna Kournikova sucked.
Well, but she was a name, but she was always, ranked like, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, you know what I'm saying? But there were other names out there. There was like Lindsay Davenport. I can remember another thing because I do like tennis a lot too. So
Ace King, poker.
Hey, didn't you try out in high school just for the sneakers?
Yeah, probably. But so they came in a time when there was a lot of good female players in the game. And yes, they began to dominate over time. And if one wasn't winning a major, then the other one was doing it, right? But getting there, when you started getting to the quarter semis and finals, there was somebody else of notoriety on there, right? And because they began to dominate that's what helped elevate that. So part of that is what's there today. Besides looking for the next Venus or Serena, who else is it? Who is there for them to tackle? If you do find this new phenom, we just saw
the evolution of the sport.
Right. We just saw the women's final in the U.S. Open, 2 teenagers, right? So, I think there's a lot for the game to be able to.
To that though. The U.S. Open is the last one on the tour. The veterans are tired. They're ready to go home.
Older people are ready to move on.
Well, that's true as well. But even with the other 3, I didn't really see any major names consistently there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whether quarter, semis, and finals, maybe 1, 2, or 3 of the same names, like we've been seeing on the men's side for the last few years with Federer, Nadal, and Joker, right? Even though they're up there, but they've been there. It's kind of flip-flop.
Before we lead into last with AK, I want to read a comment that I think, and we're definitely going to talk about this, and we're going to address this as a whole. It's going to be practically a whole podcast, I think. The tier says, so will this trend that weekend sports weekend sports for folks like us become permanent, or will this go back to the way they were? I also look at Ben Simmons and Kevin Durant to fit that category. Listen, this is going to go. Thanks for the comment. I think it's fantastic. We're actually going to dedicate. That's going to go on the list of topics because that has to be talked about. AK, what do you got for us?
Yeah, man, I'll start on the Serena tip. I mean, if you look at when she started really winning, I think she won her first in 99. She was born in 81, so fairly young. But she really started winning in 2002. She started killing it. She, right around 21, 22 years old. We're looking at some of these tennis players, but they're not even that age yet. So it's hard to know. I think there'll absolutely be another Serena Williams, but we don't know when. It may not be in the next 2, 3, or 4 years, but there's going to be another player who's going to come and dominate. Serena didn't dominate at the age that a lot of these younger players are dominating. So I think it's just the nature of sports. I think what's interesting is the whole social media conversation, because I think for the average player, surely it matters. We're human beings. Like, if you're going to look up on those things, you're going to see what people are saying. And I don't even think they chase the likes as much as the dislikes bother them. Like, I don't even think it's as much of the love that they're going to get. Because think about it, they're professional athletes, and if they're successful in every room they go into, everybody's trying to talk to them, tell them how great they are. But yeah, I think that the hate does bother them. But I also think that for the top mentally strong, the people who make it to the top of that profession, 100%, there's exceptions, but that doesn't really bother them or drive them. What drives them is being the best. Once you start getting your name mentioned amongst greats, you want to have your name be, respected there. So I do think that still exists, though I completely agree that social media has a place in this, I definitely think that at the top of the food chain, it's all about competition. And then when you get to that point, you're not comparing yourself against who's number 2 or number 3 as much as you know, chasing what they say ghosts, right? Like people who played before, and how can you possibly quantify how good you are in a whole different era? Oh, he could have never done this in my era, and you know, there's always that, but you don't know. So I think there's a lot of that out there. I think tennis is really interesting. Like I started playing an individual sport because I realized in football and in basketball, there were some people who just didn't want it as much as I did, and I couldn't control that as good of a leader as I may be. And I think that everybody who plays that type of an individual sport knows that 100% there's a team behind you. There's your coaches, there's your practice partners, there's, you know, your family, there's everybody who's there. But when you get in between those lines or on that court, that's you. And you have to be a special type of person to get to the pinnacle of individual sports where you're saying, hey, this is all on me. So I think that competition is much more pronounced than sometimes people say, you know, oh, they're worried about, you know, likes or this, that, and the third. People do like to be liked, no question, generally. But I think a lot of them and the best tend to be really, really tunnel-minded. I think Serena's the best to ever do it. I think Chris Everett, you know, Steffi Graf, Navratilova, people way before our time. You know, like there's some really good players who've played, but I would put Serena as the best ever. And even with giving her that reference, I still think it's possible that we could have, or likely that we'll have somebody at least we could compare to her in the next couple of years. Will it be Sloane Stephens? Will it be, you know, who will it be? Will it be the girl who just won? Will it be Osaka? We don't know. And I'll also add this real quick, is I definitely agree to one of you guys mentioned earlier, mental health is something that can actually be discussed to some extent now. So that hopefully that becomes something therapeutic for the athletes and they figure out a way. Look, at 21, 20, 19 years old, it's tough. Serena Williams is about to be 40 years old. I really hope she gets that. But you guys are right. You're winning chips in this sport. 19, 20, 21. Like that's when you're in your prime. 22, 23. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I have a ton of respect for Serena. She's dealt with a lot that we could probably not even imagine. Though I'm sure all of us experience racism in sports playing too. That's just the name of the game, right? But yeah, no, I give her full credit. I'm a big fan of her, and it's not going to take the average person because physically she made her body dominant. You know, so let's see what happens with that. But I definitely think, you know, to summate, I think the negative comments for those who are looking kind of drive more than the positive. And I think tennis is a young woman's game. And I expect that somebody's going to come out there and dominate at some point.
That's how it always is. That evolution, man. It's that evolution. Eventually, somebody comes in. We're going to end that segment here. What I do want to go into is we definitely got a fire topic that we're going to add to next week's program.
Oh yeah.
If not, maybe give it its own program. About the mental health aspect. We got Simone Biles. We have all these stories that have come out recently. I believe there was I just heard something the other day about, Ryan Garcia, the boxer, passed up on a matchup July 9th because of mental health issues. So there's a lot of meat and potatoes on that topic. But, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do now is we're leading into Thursday Night Football, guys. What I want you to do is give us your score, winner and score for tonight. About the mental health aspect, we got Simone Biles. We're leading into somebody has some feedback. I think that's headphones.
All right.
You got it?
Me go first?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Homer.
Yeah, go ahead. It was fine.
All right. I mean, it's tough for me because every football sense tells me Washington should win this game easy. But Dan Jones is undefeated against the Washington football team.
Jinx him.
And Giants have lost like the last 5 on Thursday night. So it's hard. Spread is 4.5, I think. I'm going to go Giants to win this 22-18.
Wow, that's a non-football score.
That's a tough score.
That's a horrible defensive game.
You got some squares or something with some bad numbers on that game? Or the 2 and
right, Bobby.
I'm a Giant fan. You know, I'm having a tough one. You know, but I gotta go with Usman on this one, man. As I just don't know, man. I hate Daniel Jones. But at the same time, he is 4-0. And the score is going to be about 130 to 129. Big fucking win, baby. Nah. It's going to be around 20-17. Giants win.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said 2017?
Yeah.
Ironically, the 3 Giants fans in the room are going first. So, first of all, I agree with Javi on the score. I think it's 20-17. I think they're going to squeeze out, a win, like a bad turd. It's going to be ugly. But, the line is 48 points. I don't think that's going to get there.
No way. Under.
There's no way. I actually bet the under as well. It's got to happen. I mean, it's some quick, circumstances. I don't think Barkley or even Galladay are going to be ready. They got Atlanta next week. I think that's where they have the opportunity for that offense to explode. I think they'll just find a touchdown here and there. Maybe the defense can pick up Heineke or something like that and help them out in that manner. But yeah, close game, 20-17.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I'm going to say is, could you imagine being a GM, winning a division in football, and deciding to sign Ryan Fitzpatrick as your starting quarterback the next year?
Insane.
It doesn't make sense, and so, I actually am going to go with I think that people forget that we gave the Redskins the division. I mean, they are not a very good football team, though I give a lot of credit to their D-line. I think their secondary is still weak. I think their linebackers are not really good, though their D-line is awesome. I think the Giants, obviously everybody knows Daniel Jones. No point going into that. But I'm actually going to take the Giants in this game simply because I actually think Hinkey's better than Fitzpatrick today. But I'm going to take the Giants in this game. I agree with every one of you guys who said this. I mean, I haven't seen a bet better than the under of this game, pretty much all year. But I'm going to take the Giants winning by 3 points. I'm looking at a field goal game with a couple touchdowns on each side, maybe. So somewhere around like 16-13, I think might be where it falls. I may be giving them too many field goals, but I think I definitely think a 16-13, 13-10 type game is what we're looking at. And I'm gonna I think the Giants will beat the Redskins. I'm just not big on Washington football teams yet.
And it is a little rainy out there, from what I understand.
Jennifer
For
Vegas
the record,
says,
you're saying that your team did tank that game, right?
"Oh, they tanked. Come on,
Lost our coach's job, didn't it?
yeah." What do you call it?
A lot
Jennifer
of
Vegas
Eagles
says,
fans are arguing with me that's not the case.
Anytime you're mad at us for that, just put on Deshaun Jackson's punt.
Yeah, exactly. Just call that out.
Jennifer Vegas says, "I'm a Giant fan. I'm going 28-23 Giants." The Giants, the tier cook. The Giants will lose to the team with no name.
Wow.
Anybody else when they see the Washington football team think, "What the fuck?" I don't know why I think that every time I see that. Dre, what you got for us?
Well, I've been in a love-hate relationship with Daniel Jones for a few years, man, and I'm gonna tell you, most of the love is gone. But because of what Javi and Usman said, I agree 100%. He hasn't lost against no-name football team, so it's gonna be 24-17 Giants for the first win of the season.
Okay, you guys are gonna hate me. My final score is Redskins.
We needed that. We needed that. We can't have a clean sweep.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but I'm like the contrarian lately on the predictions. I'm going in a defensive struggle, run-heavy game, because the Redskins have a run game. And if Saquon playing tonight, I didn't get the final.
He's playing.
Okay, I know that they're not going to feed him like they normally would, but this is going to be a run-heavy game. I don't think they're going to put the ball in Daniel Jones' hands to win him the game. So what I'm looking at now is the Redskins run game. They do have some wide receivers. I don't think Heineke I don't think he's a starting quarterback, but I don't think he's a bad option with what they have going on right now. I put him in the same vein that I was putting the guy with the mustache from Charlotte, from Carolina.
Minshew.
With Minshew, kind of like that, when he come over, he might be able to sling the ball a game or two. So I'm going to go Redskins 17, Giants 14 in a defensive struggle.
Mike.
You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm going with it.
We needed that, man. We can't have that clean sweep, man. We can't have that clean sweep prediction.
We left. I'm super excited because we left a bunch of topics on the table, man. So,
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, do us a favor, man. Tune in next week because we still have, like, we were in about 5 or 6 really good topics deep that we thought we were going to be able to get to. But everybody contributed, everybody came prepared, and I'm really excited about next Thursday night. Listen, check us out next Thursday night. This is just the warm-up, people. This is us figuring it out, getting our voice together, because I promise you, in about 4 or 5 weeks, you will see us, but you're going to hear from us. We're going to be on all the podcast networks, and we're going to get it popping. Yo, I'm super excited. My guys, enjoy the game. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here.
Go Big Blue.
Go Big Blue. Let's go.